The United States Army deactivated most of psychological warfare units after World War II. All that changed June 25th, 1950, when the Korean War started, and the Department of the Army, secondary to not being ready for war, quickly decided to start new psych war units. This week, we cover an incident that greatly affected the morale and spirit of the Borinqueneers on a Christmas Day morning during the Korean War. I am your host, Jorge Mercado, grandson of Borinqueneer Manuel Mercado, and lead historical researcher for BCGM CNC. A reality that remains virtually unchanged since time immemorial. The greatest enemy of all time has always been one's mind. Therefore, turning the enemy's mind against itself is a supreme victory in psych war tactics. Let's take a moment to set the backdrop for you so you may tie all this together at the end as it relates to the Borinqueneers. As I mentioned, the Army scrambled to rebuild psych war units to support United Nations forces. Therefore, Secretary of the Army Frank Pace Jr., U.S. Army General J. Lawton Collins, and Major General Charles L. Bolt directed Brigadier General Robert A. McClure to spearhead the rebirth of psych war elements to its fullest capacity. During the war, penetrating soldiers' minds with fear was effectively executed by both United States and the Communist forces. They would broadcast recorded messages across enemy lines, spread propaganda leaflets encouraging soldiers to surrender, promising food and security and other factors. These strategic propaganda operations became very prominent starting in June 1952 when the war hit the stalemate wall. Let us now venture into the Borinqueneers incident, which 65th Infantry Regiment Frontline Chaplain Ben F. Mortensen covers in his book titled The Diary of a Frontline Chaplain. I cannot stress enough the importance, the human equation of young men caught in the mental quagmire of a complex war must be kept at the uppermost of your mindset as we move forward. With that said, Borinqueneer Mortensen writes, quote, "They have someone on their side, probably a captured Puerto Rican, who speaks Spanish to our boys over a PA system. Smart psychological warfare. Whoever this person is, broadcasts to our boys every night and tells them what a setup the Chinese have to offer them if they'll give themselves up. I haven't heard any of the boys surrendering yet, but this sort of thing frightens them and tears down their morale. They hear these South American tangos and mambos over these loudspeakers, and then a soft female voice talks to them, asks them if they wouldn't like to be home in the peacefulness and serenity of their own native Puerto Rico. Stop resisting, the voice says. Give yourselves up, and we'll see that you get home for Christmas. This type of psychological warfare has a tremendous demoralizing effect on the boys after they've been away from home for 6 or 8 months, unquote. In that respect, it should be borne in mind the vision and psyche of 17 and 18-year-old men going into the realm of battle. Furthermore, it should be noted, the intellectual genealogy of Chinese mental warfare stems back to over 4,000 years, such that in decades past, they've been able to master this art to the point where a toothless roaring lion without claws going into battle can win without fighting. Brace yourselves, for herein lies the crux of the story. December 25th, 1952, Borinqueneer Mortensen writes in his journal, quote, "Just before daylight this morning, the Chinese called over the PA system and advised us they had a Christmas present for the 65th Regiment. They informed us they would let us send a patrol into the valley in front of our lines to pick it up. As the sun came up, we sent a squad to retrieve the so-called present. It was one of our Puerto Rican boys, nailed to a cross with a sign pinned to him which read, Feliz Navidad, which means Merry Christmas," unquote. Such tactic may have induced the desired psychological effect and behavior of fear in sending a message, yet it is easily could have stirred the vengeful anger among the 65th as well. We have connected this incident with one of our previous HRT postings that was published by the Miami Herald, December 26, 1952, about the 65th on a Christmas day, which coincides with the timeline of this story. This image shows the morale and spirit of the Borinqueneers that may very well be the same as the events of this morning, which reads in part, a somber air to the faces of this group of GIs. They are members of the 1st Battalion, 65th Infantry Regiment. I hope the brevity of this episode that is but a fragment of a larger study of the interdisciplinary art of psych war tactics has afforded you a measure of academic context with an insight that captures the human story in war. As a reminder and in closing, the central basis and degree to which our mission is predicated solely stands on the contingency of preserving the Borinqueneers' legacy. Thank you for taking the time to watch our first HRT episode and your continual support on social media. Thank you to all veterans and first responders and all who are part of this ongoing journey. And as always, may the Northern Star of honor and fidelity safely navigate your daily travel.